Coming up on Business Incorporated. IMF and World Bank urge Nigeria and other low-income countries to provide targeted financing to SMEs. Burundi gets $261 million IMF loan to aid economic recovery. Plus, Bitcoin tops $30,000 for the first time since June, ahead of key inflation data in the U.S. Hello, welcome to the program. I'm Ladi Williams. First off, let's look at how the markets are looking on the African continent. Now we see the NGX there starting with big red there. Trading week 1.92% was seen at this point, almost 2% down. Hope that flips before the end of trade today. And we see South Africa index on the opposite side, the flip side is positive, up 1.08%. And in Egypt now we see 16,908 points, up 0.80% at intraday. And we see Kenya there closing still negative, still closed for the last trading session that was on Thursday. Now let's move on to the Middle East now. We see it's more of negative sentiment there, but in the UAE, it's positive sentiment there. We see Abu Dhabi index 9,502 points, up marginally 0.03%. Dubai index, that's up 0.76%. Other markets we track there, Saudi Arabia, that's down 0.60% at intraday. And for Qatar, that's up 0.43%. Let's get some intraday analysis now for the NGX. We have Orelua Odetunde, now research analyst and Korea Asset Management, joining us via Zoom. Great to have you on the show. Hello, Orelua. Okay, you have to unmute yourself. You might have to unmute yourself. Check your audio. Okay, all right. Can you hear me now? Okay, looks like Orelua is trying to set up her audio there. I can't really hear you at this point. All right, we'll get back to Orelua now. Let's see what's happening in Europe now. We see it, most people appreciate the convenience of getting their money quickly from an ATM. Some aim higher, and hundreds of the teller machines are robbed every year. And in Germany, politicians are trying to stop this. Lars Halster joins us now from Berlin. Great to have you, Lars. So how bad is the situation in Germany?
Well, it's bad. Last year, almost 500 ATMs were robbed, 496 to be precise. That's almost 10 per week. It's a 27% rise over the previous year and an all-time high for Germany. So definitely a reason to take this problem seriously. And these break-ins are not subtle. Usually criminals come in and detonate the ATM. So they're stealing money, around 20 million euros in the previous year, but they're also damaging the building the machine is in. And that also adds another 75 million euros to the total. So damages are actually much more costly than the value of the money taken. That is, gangs are just getting more violent and bring more explosives. Now, every once in a while, police is successful and they arrest criminals. Last year, dozens were actually arrested, most of them in the Netherlands. Experts believe that the neighboring country is home to most of the organized gangs specializing in ATM robberies. But as is often the case with organized crime, if one cell of criminals is arrested, another cell pops up somewhere else. So this is an ongoing problem that has continuously gotten worse over the past few years.
Yeah, quite a big problem there, but what's being done to stop it?
Well, banks have already started to act. Many have moved ATMs from outside walls to the actual inside of the building, and they're locking the doors at night. Now, that, of course, is a big inconvenience to customers, as they often can't make withdrawals after hours. And that's what ATMs used to be for, of course. Politicians are now going a step further. They want banks to put more technology into their machines, including fog machines and mechanisms that soil the stolen bills with color or glue. Especially glue is is a new one here. That technology would essentially glue all bills together into one big ball, and that would make the money entirely useless to a robber. The central bank has already green-lighted the idea. And now, why is the central bank involved? Because they have to replace the stolen funds. And they say with glue it would be impossible to count how much money was stolen, but there would of course be an electronic way to find out. One question is still unanswered at this point. Who's going to pay for the new technology? Politicians are saying the banks should pay. The banks, of course, they say that keeping up cash infrastructure is something that the government has to at least help with.
All right, Lars, let's look at the markets now. What are investors looking at?
Interestingly, it's the opposite of cash. There's one big winner today in trading Bitcoin. The crypto is above $30,000 again for the first time in almost a year. Now, what's behind that? Mostly Fed policy. Investors are expecting that the US Federal Reserve will soon end its aggressive monetary tightening campaign. And that had, of course, taken a toll on cryptos because higher interest rates have made investments other than crypto more attractive. And crypto investors are hoping they're getting a break now in the near term.
Yeah, quite a big jump there from Bitcoin. Thank you so much. That's Lars Holter right there in Berlin, giving us the details right there from Europe. Let's head back to the NGX now. I believe we have Orelua Odetunde, our research analyst in Korea Asset Management. Orelua, I don't know if you can hear me now. I hope I can hear you.
Yes, I can hear you.
Fantastic. Yes, I can hear you. Great. So last time I checked, I saw the NGX was down about 1.92%. How's it looking from your end?
I mean, same. I think we're mostly seeing the losses on the NGX and the ASI largely due to the decline in Airtel Africa. We know that that's the most heavily weighted stock on the market, and if there's a drop in that stock, we would see that translate to a decline in the ASI. But I mean, if we look back 2 to 3 weeks, we also see that the market has been recording marginal declines, particularly last week where we saw more losses on the ASI, which was around 2.8%. And it was largely due to the fact that a lot of investors are taking profit on stocks that have appreciated in the last 2 months, January and February. We know that the earnings season is currently coming towards a close. A lot of investors have positioned for the earnings seasons as well as dividend declarations. And what is happening now is because investors are taking profits, are expecting the dividends to start coming in. We're expecting a lot of dividend markdowns, which present opportunities for investors. But I mean, that's on one side. On the other side, we're also seeing that there's significant buying interest in some small cap stocks. And if we look at these small cap stocks, a lot of them have very high dividend yields. And we're seeing that investors have been cherry picking these small cap stocks. So, for instance, if you take a look at Lasaco, if you take a look at NACO, those two stocks have increased about 21% and 10% last week. And we also saw further increases in Lasaco this week. And that's largely due to the fact that, the company has been able to perform more impressively, and it also increased its dividends. So for Lasaco, we saw, increase in its dividends, same as NACO, which, I think, declared a profit of about 40 kobo in 2021, but come 2022, the dividend increased to about 1.400 kobo. So, I mean, investors are taking positions in some of these small cap stocks. But let's just note that most of these small cap stocks cannot really move the market. They cannot really cause major buying interest or major improvements in the ASI. So that's why we've not really seen that impact the ASI as much.
All right, thank you so much. That was Orelua Odetunde, our research analyst and Korea Asset Management. Fingers crossed for the close on the NGX today. Thank you so much. All right, let's take a look at what's happening with Asia now. We'll see Asia Pacific shares mostly rose today as the Bank of Korea held interest rates at 3.5%, in line with expectations. South Korea's central bank held rates for the second consecutive time as the nation grapples with an inflation rate of 4.2%. South Korea's Kospi rose further after the move and traded 1.42% higher there. We see the Nikkei, that's up 1.05%. Just the Shanghai Composite there down marginally by 0.05%. And we see the Kospi there 1.42%. ASX 200 in Australia, that's also up 1.26%. All right, now I think it's time we head on to London now. Let's see what's happening there. We have Juliana standing by in London. Great to have you, Juliana. So we see the Director General of the Confederation of British Industry, that's Tony Danker, has been sacked. What are you hearing about this sack?
Good afternoon, Laddie. Well, yeah, this is pretty serious breaking news from earlier on this morning affecting the business community here in the UK, and that is that Tony Danker, as you said, the Director General of this country's largest lobby group, he has been sacked with immediate effect over allegations of sexual misconduct. And so whoever hasn't heard of the CBI, they are a Royal Charter institution. I believe they have been going since 1965. And they are a lobby group representing about 190,000 businesses, including some of the UK's largest employees. And now, if you want to be a member of the group, it costs about £100,000, which is why there is such panic at the moment because of these sexual misconduct allegations. And now, it first came to light last month. I think there was a publication, an article in The Guardian, suggesting that some employees were uncomfortable around Tony Danker. He was subsequently suspended from the organisation, and that's when the problems began. Lots of members said if they can't have the ear to the government, then why would they be a member of the group? And Fox Williams are a legal firm that have been looking into this, and since looking into phase one of the investigation, they have uncovered so many other issues, not referring to Tony Danker, I must say. He has put out a tweet saying that he recognises the intense publicity wrongfully that CBI have suffered over the past couple of weeks, and that he nevertheless was shocked to learn this morning that he was dismissed from the CBI without being invited to put his position forward as he originally confirmed. So I think this is going to drag on and on, but not great, because of course we know the business community here have suffered before the pandemic, during the pandemic, and now post-pandemic with high inflation. So yes, let's see how this story drags on during the week.
Yeah, definitely a wait and see for that one. We'll keep tracking that. But a lot of sound bites coming from the spring meeting at this point. And now the IMF is forecasting, as an economist there, is forecasting that ultra-low interest rates are set to return with inflation due to the tumble in the near future. How is this being, digested there?
Yeah, this is a pretty interesting forecast from the International Monetary Fund. As you said, they have released their World Economic Outlook, and because of what's happening in the global north, high interest rates, high inflation is the theme of what the report is. And their analysis suggests that one of the reasons why mortgage holders and those who borrow lots of money don't need to be concerned about high inflation rates is because they are set to become ultra-low interest rates. So that is the headline I think a lot of business media are trying to run with in the UK. But the worrying thing is the IMF are saying one of the reasons why interest rates will become ultra-low is because there will be low productivity, and also there will be low growth and an ageing population. And it's not just Britain that they cite. They also cite this to be a key problem in France and Germany and other similar economies. And so in the short term, this is great for somebody like Rishi Sunak. And it's quite interesting, actually. Earlier, there was a leak from Downing Street suggesting that the Prime Minister will soon announce there will be an election in November 2024. That will be a good time where there will be low interest rates, so people will be happy that it doesn't cost a lot to borrow. But the long-term effects is that economies in the G7 need to rethink how, what boosts their GDP, because services and productivity are likely to be low in the long run. So it's definitely something that I'm sure they'll be keen on trying to turn around.
I'm definitely wondering when we'll have, inflation, high inflation behind us, globally. Can't picture it. It's like it's been here too long. But we see the FTSE 100, that hit a 1-month high. Markets are looking quite bullish there.
Yeah, the markets have started off the short second Easter week pretty high in positive territory. I think it's been boosted by data released by Barclaycard showing that consumer transactions actually grew in this country 4% year on year. So the FTSE All-Share at intraday is up 0.33%. The FTSE 100 too is up by 0.76%. And the FTSE 250, the domestic market, that's up by 0.76%. In the currencies market, the British pound is currently trading up against the US dollar by 0.39%. I think £1 will get you $1.24. But British pound is trading down against the euro by 0.08%, but up against the Japanese yen by 0.11%, Laddie.
All right, Juliana, thank you so much. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Thank you.
Talk to you tomorrow from the studio.
All right, so we'll take a break now. When we come back, commodities market update is next. Do stay with us. Welcome back. One of the casualties of the Naira cash crunch was the fall in the prices of certain price-elastic commodities like chicken, tomatoes, and peppers. The price of chicken in particular fell by 12% in February to 2,300 Naira per kilo, has however recovered to levels higher than the pre-Naira saga period to 2,800 Naira per kilogram. Let's talk to Victoria Momana, analyst, financial derivatives company. Great to have you, Victoria.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me, Laddie.
So this trend we're seeing right now with the price inching up, is it something that's going to continue? And looking at the poultry business, altogether now, is it going to be profitable going forward?
First and foremost, yes, it is true that we recorded the decline in price of chicken, as well as other price elastic products like, tomatoes and the likes of it. And, of course, it's because of the Naira scarcity, which forced the demand for those products to decline. And due to low patronage from sellers, we saw that the sellers were forced to bring down the price of those products. So the prices were also supported, or the prices recovered, between that period and now to as high as 2,800 Naira per kilo. And, this is due to the fact that, there is increased demand for the commodity as, Naira is back. People have enough money, enough cash at hand to, to purchase this commodity. We also, this, increase is also supported by, the Easter period, which is characterized by increased demand for chickens, the celebration that just ended, yesterday. We also have the Ramadan period, characterized by, giving food to people that are fasting, and these are made in large quantity, and then demand for chicken, which is also a product that is being added to the food, also increased. Is the business profitable? Yes, it's actually profitable because there is a steady demand for chicken from people, so much so that people smuggle the commodity in. There is a steady demand. So given the fact that there is increasing demand for chicken, people can venture into the business and make profit from it. Bearing in mind that there are some other attendant risks that are involved. So in order for you to get that profitability, you have to put those risks in mind and also ensure that the setup is properly managed.
And talking about profitability now, I know the egg farmers are going through quite a tough time, even though they're supposed to be making a lot of sales now. I'm talking about an egg glut, in the market at this time. But looking at demand for poultry, it's increased by about 10% every year for the past 5 years. That's about 50% cumulatively now. And, looking at, demand and income per capita, for Nigerians, has fallen from about $2,505 to $2,405 per head. And food inflation, that's soared about 24.35%. How are we still managing to match this demand?
It's interesting to note that the demand for poultry is positively correlated with increasing population growth in a particular country and urbanization too. So, Nigeria's population has been increasing, so has the demand for poultry, has been on the rise also. And then there is what we call the peak period effect and then the off-peak period effect. The peak period effect is, the period where we have the festivities like the Easter celebration, the Ramadan celebration. So all of these, contributes to, the increased demand for poultry and poultry products. We also have the off-peak period, like I said earlier. The off-peak period is, just the demand for chicken, whether it's irrespective of the particular period. And it's also interesting to note that, many people, tilt towards white meat, which is chicken, because of its health benefit as opposed to red meat. So the increase in demand for this chicken has also, drive the or supported the, over 50% spike in demand for chicken and poultry products.
And talking about, spike in prices, we know animal feed, that's been a big issue at this time. Since the price of animal feed, that's jumped about 73%, big jump. Do you see that those prices actually coming down, anytime soon? And I know Russia-Ukraine war, plays into all of this price increases.
Yeah, you're right. The Russian-Ukraine war played into this because we, of course, import corn into the country, and corn is a major ingredient for poultry feed, and the price has been on the rise due to numerous factors, both in the international factors and the domestic factors, like insecurity in the regions where corn is being produced. We have the issue of high cost of operation, high cost of fertilizer that are being used to grow corn. So all of this actually triggered the price of corn and caused the increase, the 73% increase in the price of corn. And what impact does this have in the cost of feed? Of course, like I said earlier, the corn is a major ingredient used in making so if the price goes up, the cost of making poultry farmers output, it affects the poultry production, and then we'll see more of smuggling of chicken in order to evade this rising cost of production, which is also not good for the economy in general.
All right, Victoria, I'm just wondering when all these prices are going to come back down, hopefully soon. Thank you so much, Victoria Momo, analyst, Financial Derivatives Company. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, let's check out the stories now. The African continent. We see the president of the World Bank Group, David Malpass, and managing director of the International Monetary Fund have stressed the need for policymakers in Nigeria and other low-income countries, as well as emerging economies, to create targeted financing for small and medium-sized enterprises in their countries. This discloses the call for support for SMEs as part of the discussion with low-income countries and emerging markets, adding that such intervention would help enhance inclusive growth, tackle inflation and high interest rates. And Burundi has received $261 million from the International Monetary Fund. First in 8 years, it will go towards supporting its economic recovery. In a statement, the IMF said together with Burundian authorities that it had reached a staff-level agreement on a 40-month arrangement under the extended credit facility with access of $261.7 million. Burundi's economy has been hit by several shocks, halting its recovery from negative effects of the COVID-19 pandemic and heightening its macroeconomic imbalances. And Ghana has placed first place in sub-Saharan Africa with the largest electricity access rate. According to the World Bank's April 2023 Africa Pulse report, the nation recorded about 81% access to electricity rate in 2021. Ghana beat African powerhouses, including South Africa, Kenya, and Nigeria. World Bank Africa Pulse report pointed out that the COVID-19 pandemic had a sharp adverse effect on access to electricity, adding that the pandemic eroded gains made in the preceding 5 years. And that's it on Business Incorporated. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ladi Williams. Bye for now.